Continuing looking over East Asia. Now, we'll be going through the next three sections, going over natural resources. Then we'll be looking at the economy of East Asia, and then we'll move forward with the human interaction with the environment or human involvement. So first we have the natural resources. The natural resources of East Asia are vast and diverse. You got to realize East Asia is a large portion that we're covering. Now, East Asia, again, has a large mineral deposits of iron, has a large mineral deposits of copper, have large deposits of natural gas and oil. Now, this is very important because our world is an industrialized world. And in the industrialized world, the resources that we use are essential for who in the world is dominating and doing well economically. So, one of those major resources that are vital to the world's economies is oil. Now, East Asia um, encompasses a good portion of those oil-rich nations. Those oil-rich nations are predominantly in the Middle East, but East Asia also has a large natural resource in oil. This natural gas and oil gets pumped out of the earth, and then once it's pumped out of the earth, it gets taken to different tankers, to different refineries. Those refineries then place them in trucks and then send them where they need to go. Now, other natural resources include precious metals and different types of metals that are used in the industrialized world. Famously, Japan is known for its large iron resource in its islands, and then with the vast plains of East Asia, there are vast amounts of mineral resources under the ground there. So East Asia is full of natural resources. Natural resources also include marine life. That marine life in East Asia is very bustling and very explosive. Fish and different types of sea creatures that are used in consuming them for food or using their materials for their daily life, such as coral or different animals for clothing and things like that. Next, we'll be looking at the economy of East Asia. Now, the economy of East Asia is massive. The economy of East Asia is massive. Remember, East Asia includes Japan, Korea, China, and India. So remember, the two largest countries in the world are both China and India, with about 1.3 billion people, both kind of back and forth combating. The third closest is us, the United States, but we're distant with about 330, 340 million. So these nations are far ahead. Now, with such a large population, they have large economies. With these large economies, they need, again, not a lot of natural resources to produce this much stuff for their people, and not only for their people, but for the whole world. China is one of the largest economies in the world. It should be the second largest economy in the world, second to the United States. China, as you know, makes a large percentage of our products. China makes a large percentage of our products, including clothing, um, um, bathing materials, luxury materials, anything that is in the world's economy has in some form interacted with the Chinese economy. Also, we have large economies in Japan. Many of you who play video games, Nintendo and those different corporations associated with video games and entertainment are largely based out of Japan. You also have large car companies like Mitsubishi who make cars, but not only cars, but they also make washing machines or cell phones. You have the nation of South Korea. South Korea also very famous for its large economy. It makes different cars like Kia. It's home to Sony, where we have the movie entertainment and the PlayStation brand there as well. So East Asia is very important because of its large economic influence on the world stage. Now, when it comes to this larger economic influence, it's very important that we understand East Asia and its industrialized economy feeds into the Western economy. So a lot of that stuff that we get or that we have in our world, in our life right now, you have based off of being brought over from East Asia. I would like to do for you to do a little quick thing. Look and see all the different items that you have in your house. Look at the different labels. And in those different labels, check to see how many of those are from Asia or East Asia. So you can see. Now, a lot of different things come from different parts of the world, but a lot of your laptops or a lot of your cell phones or a lot of your shoes or a lot of your shirts and clothes and jackets and backpacks and bottles were probably processed and made in East Asia. Now, because of this, East Asia is very industrialized. So they're using those natural resources like coal and iron and natural gas that we see in the natural resources that they have. But that creates a lot of problems in their environment. So we're looking at the human impact. The human impact is pretty big. Human impact is pretty big, especially in the past 100 or 50 years. The industrial era really begins in England back in the 1700s. And then that in the early industrial era, there was a large problem of creating a large amount of smoke and smog because of those burning factories. Now in the West, we've tried to adjust those problems, create filters, create new systems where things are not as dirty or not as polluted. Sadly, East Asia has not been able to really update their methods. They've really been using old methods in order to get that fuel, that energy going. So one major problem is that industrialization. That industrialization causes a large amount of pollution in the air. So you get that coal and air pollution. You get that natural gas pollution. Also, another problem that has been presented in the industrial era is the process of overfishing. The East Asians, with their large coastlines, are a large portion of where the world gets its fish and its marine life. So that causes a problem where you fish so much that you ruin the ecosystem. And with a ruined ecosystem, that means it's not balanced. So different animals devour different animals at a different rate, or there's not enough animals for the other animals to either reproduce or consume. So it kind of messes up with the natural balance that you see in a in an ecosystem. So that human environment affects it. We also have like nuclear energy, especially in Japan. Japan is really updated with its nuclear energy, Japan and Korea. So different things like that may create nuclear meltdowns. There have been scares in the past. But there have been recent developments of changes that are trying to improve that environmental factor. So in East Asia overall, the resources are very diverse, and there's a large amount of resources. And then those large amount of resources get used in the East Asian economy to produce a large amount of products. Those large amount of products get shipped all over the world. Then, because they're so industrialized, it causes damage to the environment. But it is the goal of the East Asians to kind of improve that over time. And different laws and different international regulations have been placed to kind of fix that problem. Alrighty, that is it for East Asia. I hope you have a good day.